Hola amigas y amigos, yo soy Marcos Ordóñez y esto es Cómics XXI. Bienvenidos. Llevamos realmente unas semanas tristes en el mundo del cómic por la desaparición de dos grandes autores, dos grandes dibujantes, como fueron Neil Adams y George Pérez. A Neil Adams ya le dedicamos hace poco nuestro anterior vídeo y hoy hacemos lo mismo con George Pérez. George Pérez, que fue un dibujante, un autor fundamental en el devenir de DC y de Marvel durante los años 80 y 90 sobre todo, y un dibujante pues, al que le debemos grandes obras como su Wonder Woman, su Crisis en Tierras Infinitas o los Nuevos Titanes. Bien, George Pérez, además de todo eso, siempre fue una persona bueno, pues, con las cosas muy claras, con pensamientos en fin, muy útiles para definir su trabajo y para intentar conseguir mejores objetivos, y lo veremos ahora en las cortas declaraciones que vienen a continuación. Luego veremos otras en las que George Pérez bueno, pues habla de lo importante que es la historia para el cómic, un gran dibujo, una cosa muy atractiva, no es suficiente para que la obra cuaje y funcione. Sin una buena historia no tenemos recorrido. Y además incluso llega a citar pues, al Julio César de Shakespeare para decirnos que no se puede alegremente jugar con los clímax. Un clímax tiene que estar puesto en un momento determinado y tiene que haber toda otra cantidad de escenas que nos conduzcan a ese momento. La acumulación de momentos cumbre bueno, realmente solo lleva al agotamiento. Pues nada más, vamos a disfrutar, o espero que disfrutéis con este vídeo dedicado a la memoria de George Pérez, este autor de origen puertorriqueño que nos hizo gozar tanto con sus cómics.
And while there are exceptional writer-artists, Frank Miller, Dan Jurgens, who I consider an exceptional writer as well as an artist, Walt Simonson, and many others, there are those who should not be writing their own work because they don't really have an understanding of what writing is all about, of characterization, of careful plotting, of an understanding that a story cannot be all climaxes. You know, every scene can't be a climax. There has to be a build-up, there has to be a denouement. There's a fancy word. I remember that from English class. But there has to be a real sense of structure. You know, in Julius Caesar, all this character development. Then you have that big climax of first turning point of Caesar being killed. Right. Then all the denouement characterization building up to the climax of the war, which they're getting out searching out the conspirators, the final conspirators, Cassius and Brutus, and then the denouement after the deaths of the characters. Pacing is so important, but if you had Julius Caesar killed from point one and everyone just battling and fighting, and you have a riot. You don't have a story, you have a riot. And riots, like car accidents, are something people love to watch, but when you leave there, you feel like all you've gotten is that roller coaster thrill, but nothing you're gonna take with you to that's gonna really help you in life as far as a life experience. You've gotten the thrill, you've gotten it out of your system, you've gotten the catharsis, but you haven't gotten any mental stimulation.
George Pérez nació en Nueva York. Sus padres eran puertorriqueños que vivían en el Bronx. De niño, George visitaba una librería de cómics y eso le cambiaría la vida. Aquí vemos el primer trabajo que publicó George Pérez. Tenía entonces 20 años. Sus primeros trabajos lo llevaron a Marvel, donde realizó White Tiger con el guionista Bill Mantlo, y poco después entró en Los Vengadores, en el número 141. Dibujó también en su primera etapa Los Cuatro Fantásticos, junto con el guionista Marv Wolfman. Su siguiente etapa lo sitúa en DC, con la Liga de la Justicia y con Los Nuevos Titanes, también con guiones de Wolfman. Marvel y DC decidieron realizar un crossover entre la Liga de la Justicia y Los Vengadores. Cuando Pérez llevaba dibujadas 21 páginas, el proyecto se canceló. Aquí te ofrecemos alguna de esas páginas. Las vemos acabadas de dibujo y de color, solo a falta de añadir los bocadillos. Teen Titans, Los Jóvenes Titanes, fue una serie con éxito limitado, hasta que se hicieron cargo de ella Marv Wolfman y George Pérez, convirtiéndolos en The New Teen Titans, llevando a los personajes a una edad más adulta, con historias más elaboradas. Todo esto ocurría en 1980. Regresaría a Marvel en los años 90 con Los Vengadores, con guiones de Kurt Busiek, obteniendo un gran éxito. Unos años después, también con Busiek, crearían el crossover La Liga de la Justicia, Los Vengadores, en el año 2003. También dibujó Los Inhumanos, Los Cuatro Fantásticos, Hulk, X-Men y Superman. Como ya hemos podido comprobar, a George Pérez le encantaba unir una multitud de superhéroes en acción, algo que otros dibujantes no querían hacer ni locos. DC quiso celebrar su 50 aniversario con Crisis en las Tierras Infinitas, una miniserie de 12 números publicada en 1985 y 1986 con Mark Wolfman en el guión y George Pérez como dibujante. Crisis sería el primer gran crossover de los superhéroes, al incluir a todos los personajes de DC. Nuevas entregas llegarían en 2005 con Crisis Infinita y en 2008 llegó Crisis Final. Todo esto reordenaría el universo DC. El siguiente trabajo de George Pérez fue Wonder Woman. Trabajó con el guionista Len Wein, pero después Pérez fue dibujante y guionista. Surgieron problemas con DC sobre el futuro del personaje y George Pérez abandonó el proyecto y también DC.
When I was in high school, freshman year high school, a young classmate, his name's Tom Shiaka, took me to my first comic convention. Now I was addicted. Now that's my focus. I wanted to be a comic book artist. And nothing was going to deter me. So I just, kept drawing, showed comic conventions, eventually showed my artwork to professionals. I still have the blisters on my back for that. And gladly, at the age of 19, when I was working as a bank teller right after high school, artist Rich Buckler, who had seen my artwork at a convention, needed an assistant. He had a few. So, I didn't get to do really much drawing assistant. It was more like gopher work. But I got to go with him into the offices of Marvel Comics. I got to see all these people. I saw Bill Everett, Frank Robbins, all these gigantic greats from the early days of comics. And people saw my work, and they knew I was hungry. I was going to keep working, drawing. That finally, at the age of 20, I got to do my first professional work.
Another of my favorite runs of all time is your take on Wonder Woman. How did that come to be, and what was it like reinventing such an iconic character?
Yeah, that was a surprise to a lot of people. Because I walked into the office at one point, and this was after Crisis on Infinite Earth. I had done my run on Titans, History of the DC Universe. Pretty much I was in a position I could have asked for anything that I either would have wanted to draw or that already existed or create something. I had pretty much carte blanche at DC. And then I was watching, I knew that John Byrne was doing Man of Steel. Frank Miller had just had his run on Dark Knight and was getting ready to start with David Mazzucchelli on Batman Year One. And then I saw what they were having to do with Wonder Woman. And I was in the office, and there wasn't a single female employee at DC. And this is a company that had a woman for a publisher who were happy with what they had to do with Wonder Woman, because if they don't, they lose the rights to Wonder Woman, because they still had a contract with the Marston estate. And I had an idea for a Wonder Woman story that I was going to do before Crisis, before the series that ended up ending Wonder Woman's current run. And this was before CGI and everything else. And I wondered, having been inspired by what Walt Simonson did with Thor, what if Wonder Woman was treated like a Ray Harryhausen special effects fantasy movie? So I wanted to do a Challenge of the Gods type story where she would meet fighting skeletons, hydras, all these mythological characters. And then the book got canceled. So when I came in there, I was just visiting friends at the time, and the editor, Janice Race, was telling me what the story was going to be like that they had for the first issue that they had to accept. Time was at a premium at that point, and showed me the artwork. And all I thought, for the female premier character in comics, the company was going to be eviscerated for it, because the artist was more suited to drawing Penthouse. And hey, it's not like I have anything against that, but that's not what you want on Wonder Woman right now. And to give you an idea of certain things, like people praise me for creating Julia Capitellis, the female professor who became her guide. She wasn't in the original story. When Wonder Woman arrives at Man's World, and it's in the first issue, as opposed to how I left that until the third issue, she ends up in an alleyway. Some men try to rape her immediately. Some guy comes in, chases the guys away. It's a priest, and she ends up in a house for wayward women. I said, "You're going to be killed if you release this as Wonder Woman." And I asked the editor, I have some ideas, and I haven't worked a background because I wasn't planning on it. But if you give me a little time, would you like me to do Wonder Woman? First time I ever got kissed by an editor. And then by a publisher, I got kissed by Dick Giordano, too. And they gave me the time I needed to create a backstory. And the writer on the book was very gallant about it, was willing to work with me. But after the second issue, with all the changes that I was making along the way, he, without any rancor, without any bitterness, says, this is really becoming George's book. I think it's better that I just bow out. I think he also left the industry because he was doing regular prose writing. And Wonder Woman became mine. Since I was starting out as a writer, Karen Berger, the new editor on the book, was a little hesitant for me to write the dialogue because she didn't know how well I could write. And again, she was banking a lot on Wonder Woman. So she hired Len Wein to do my dialogue. But all the story concepts were mine from that point on. And then, of course, by issue 17, I got a chance to finally take over as a scripter as well. But Karen was my champion, because everyone saw Wonder Woman in the all-boy club there as a female Superman. And I said, no, she is a fantasy character. She's a character of myth. There are certain aspects of her I don't think have ever been experimented with or explored. And the mythology was one thing, again, inspired by Walt Simonson on Thor. The fact that she was a herald for peace. I got rid of Steve Trevor as a love interest because I was tired of seeing a male Lois Lane. I thought Lois Lane was a dumb character after a while, and so was Steve Trevor. So I tried to make him valid by making him an older brother type, making Etta Candy a role model, despite she was overweight and everything else. But she was a military officer, very, very capable. I wanted to show that beauty is not pigeonholed, and creating female characters there that fit all age groups, all ethnic backgrounds, all sizes, to show that heroism does not have a singular defined shape. And one of the things that Diana, as I called her, I never wrote her as Wonder Woman, I always wrote her as Diana. The fact that she was the only mainstream big league superhero who practiced a religion. And at that point, I still am pretty agnostic, but I got to develop a great respect for those people who do follow a religion in its best sense, not when it separates people, when it unites people, because of Diana, because I had to get into that mind to study what makes her so genuinely good. And I think I became a better man because of Diana.
Suscríbete y toca la campanita, así podremos avisarte cada vez que haya un nuevo vídeo disponible. ¿Te ha gustado el vídeo? ¿Te gusta el arte de George Pérez? Déjanos tus opiniones en los comentarios.